We went from 35,000 to 55,000 a month.
Badass.
And then within 90 days of joining the community, we're at about 85,000, 75 to $85,000 a month. Because it's a lot harder to drill.
Yeah.
So people just hide behind that it's a marketing problem.
Yes.
If you are a founder and you're under $10 million a year, the only thing that matters for you is sales.
So I'm here with Kevin Lee. He is a wizard at what he does. And we actually recorded one of these not, maybe 3-4 months ago. Since then, Kevin has hit some pretty record highs. And we're going to talk about today, as a founder, how the sales training that he went through with me directly impact his ability to scale his business, right? Because oftentimes, like we talk about for closers, right? How can you make 10, 20K a month? But for founders, right, how you can crack your first 50, 75, 100K a month as well, and then start building the foundation of a sales team, which we're going to talk about today. Kevin's now hired 2 pretty rock star setters, and the way that he's hiring is very different than how he was hiring 3 months ago because of what he's been learning. And so we're going to dive into that. And if you guys want to learn more about kind of what we do here, just comment, follow along, whatever it is, call to action. But let's dive in. Kevin, thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, so we're actually here in Colombia.
My first time in Colombia.
Yes, we're doing a 10-day client co-living experience, and people closing deals next to each other in the villa has been epic.
Oh yeah.
I would love to, if you just take 30 seconds to introduce yourself, what you do, a little bit about you, and kind of what the business that you're building is.
Absolutely. Hey guys, my name is Kevin. I'm the founder of Med Masters. We help med spas, chiropractors, and dentists at $10,000 to $30,000 a month using our AI patient reactivation system without spending an additional dollar on ads. And came across Andrés' stuff because we're in the same community, same business community. And he was just off the gate, the absolute best teammate. He was asking folks how he could serve, how he could help. And that's totally my speed. So reached out to the boy. Turns out he's a local surfer. We're just like that. And it was very obvious that what I needed at the time was exactly what he was providing. So he invited me in, gave me an opportunity to join Cafe for Closers, and it's been absolutely amazing.
So let's start with that. What made you say hey, because I talk to a lot of founders, dude, and they're very problem unaware. They're like, I just need more leads and my business will scale. It's very hard to get a founder to be like, no, you need help closing the fucking deals that you already have.
Yep.
So what made you say, hey, I need help with this?
I think I looked at it. I looked at the data. And at the time when we were still trying to figure marketing out and being able to scale, we didn't have all the leads that we wanted. So I can easily say I need more leads, but that wouldn't solve the problem.
Yeah.
But I had leads in front of me. I just wasn't closing at a higher level.
Yeah.
If you're not closing 100% of your deals, not everyone will, but there's room to grow.
Yeah.
So I think I recognize if I can convert more of the leads that I already have, that's much closer to revenue than having to solve for marketing to get more leads, which ultimately will have the same problem down the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I recognized that this was the opportunity.
You're rigorous, you're incredibly meticulous with your data tracking, and I think a lot of founders need to improve on that because then you can solve your problems quicker.
Yep.
When you did join up, what were you averaging in terms of monthly revenue?
When I joined up, I was probably averaging around 30 to 35 per month in revenue.
And that was in the summer, and I think November was your biggest month?
November was my biggest month. I would say within 45 days of joining the community, we went from 35,000 to 55,000 a month.
Badass.
And then within 90 days of joining the community, we're at about 85,000, 75 to $85,000 a month.
Badass. So it was a 3x. Okay. And it's cool because as a founder, right, sales, at least when I train founders, it's learning how to close gives them the confidence to spend more in ads and then grow the marketing funnel.
Absolutely.
What was your experience during that?
It was exactly the same. I think, one of the biggest bottlenecks when it comes to increasing spend is how can you actually be able to intake all that traffic? Meaning, let's say I 3x my ad spend tomorrow. Why can't I expect 3x the result? It's because I know that if I get 3 times the booking this week, I wouldn't have enough people to actually be able to fulfill on those calls.
Yeah.
So understanding sales systems, understanding sales psychology gives you the confidence to increase spend and take more risk on advertising side. And I would say 90% of all business problems comes from advertising, but just because it comes from advertising doesn't mean that it is a marketing problem. Oftentimes your ads are doing just fine, but you're not seeing the ROAS because you're not actually closing the deal. You're not actually getting the dollar across. So I would say marketing and sales is actually intertwined, but sales is a lot harder to drill.
Yeah.
So people just hide behind that it's a marketing problem.
Yes.
Right?
It's harder to drill. Yeah.
So then the question becomes, do you want to be right or do you want to be rich?
Dude, I got to write that down. So you got to about 75 to 85. And was that after you brought on the setter?
It was after I brought on the setter.
Okay. And so what did like knowing how to then close, right? How did that then help you like start leading a sales team essentially?
Yeah. So to answer that question, we'll kind of start with those figures, right? 35 to 55,000 a month happened just by increasing my close rate from 30% to 60%.
Yeah. I remember.
No increase in more deals, just more yeses.
Yeah.
From 55 to 75,000, that's where we had to hire, right?
Yeah.
That was all about systems and teams.
Yeah.
Now, I've done sales by myself for my business my entire career. So to alleviate that responsibility and bring in someone new comes in two folds. A, how do I find that person?
Yeah.
And B, how do I train that person?
Yeah.
Luckily, Andrés was able to help me with both.
Mm.
Through his own incredible network of people who know, like, and trust him, he was able to find me the perfect candidate who we were able to onboard within 14 days. Immediately, I plugged him into the same resource that I had access to that made me badass, which is Cafe for Closers.
Yes, sir.
And immediately, he was onboarded, he had confidence, but more importantly, he had a sense of community. He knew that he wasn't the only one dealing with rejections, objections, no-shows. He had people he could speak with. And as a result, he showed up better for the business, which gave us the room to be able to crank and grow.
Yeah, it's badass. I guess on that note, like too, like one thing Kevin talked about is like from 30 to 55, you're doing your own sales, like founder-led sales.
Yep.
And I think what I saw as your coach was like, dude, your ability to just practice and drill like daily. Because as a founder, you have so many things all the time, fires to put out every single day.
Yeah.
And to still make time for a 30-minute practice session, which is what it takes with sales in the beginning, right? Because otherwise, as a founder, like founders don't realize this, right? Is that if you're not practicing, then when you finally have a lead and your lead flow isn't that like consistent, all of a sudden, like you're practicing things that maybe you know in theory, but now you have an $8,000 deal on the line and you just drop the ball. And then like the negative cycle of like questioning yourself and confidence issues happen. On the flip side now, like you've now grown, now you're testing 2 setters out.
Yep.
And your hiring process is, I think, exactly what setters should be going through. Why did you decide, or if you want to talk a little bit about what you put your setters through and why you decided to do that?
Yeah. So currently we just onboarded 2 new setters. We actually went through a hiring process in January where we had about 12 to 15 applicants. I say 12 to 15 because really after 8, you can't really keep track of how many there are. We put them through a 3-round process. And this was, off kind of the blueprint that I got from Cafe for Closers. The first thing we did is we had an online application where they gave us the information that we were looking for. And at the very bottom of that application, we wrote in smaller font, texting the word done in quotes, all caps, to this number when you finish the application to receive the link for an interview. And if you don't text me that exact word, they don't get an interview link. So I got folks texting me, hey, Kev, I finished. Hey, Kev, it's submitted. Hey, Kev, I just finished it. But that wasn't what I asked for. So the first round of testing between the lines is ability to follow instructions and attention to detail. That probably shaved off a good 30 to 40% right there.
Yeah.
Once they texted me the right word, I gave them an interview. Awesome. We hopped on. We did the whole shebang, getting to know you. And I told them, hey, for our next interview, I'd love to invite you over for a role play. I'm gonna send you the setter script, and we want to drill on setter role play. Sound good? Sound good. They hop on the call. And I said, awesome. Did you practice? They said, I practiced. Amazing. We're going to actually drill on something completely different. But we're going to go for the closer script. And they go, Kev, I didn't practice for that. I said, that's exactly why I need to find out how well you backpedal. Because if I just drilled you on what you just practiced, I wouldn't actually know how well you perform.
Yeah.
So most of them are in shock. But the few that were ready, the few that were trained, immediately was able to objection handle. I went with the simple money, partner, fear. I just wanted to hear the first sentence, 2 sentences. And I know whether or not they're trained.
Yeah.
So through that process, I was able to shave off another 20%. And then I told them at the end of the second call, I said, hey, by the end of this week, you should hear from me about a 3rd interview. Let me know if you have any questions. And I plan to never speak with them again. There's a magic number in my head, and the magic number was 3. I wanted them to follow up with me 3 times. Because if they can't even follow up with me, how can I expect them to follow up with my leads?
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. This hiring process is so robust, and the quality of applicant I got at the end of it, right? I had 2 setters, and I guess my hidden 4th round of interview would be a 30-day trial process. I said, hey guys, you guys are my top 2. We only have 1 spot available. In the next 30 days, you guys will be competing with the same spot. Show me what you got.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a full 4-step process. If it was me and I didn't have the guidance of Andrés and Cafe for Closers, I would have just hired the first person I saw.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of you guys out there watching this is feeling the same way.
Yeah.
You're good at what you do, but hiring in teams is not your strength. and you end up hiring the first person you got because you have no idea where to find them. You have no idea how to drill them.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the quality of the prospects I have now is a direct result of being in the right place.
Yeah. Dude, that's so money, and I think it's really good too for salespeople watching, like how seasoned founders now will be testing you, and also like it makes it granular. The whole idea of like hire slow, fire fast. Like this is exactly what we mean by that. Hire slow, like have people prove to you what they have. So then once you have the right person, then you're not like micromanaging as much, and you can focus on higher leverage activities. And then your salespeople aren't dropping the ball and actually doing what they're supposed to do and be producers. So thank you for sharing that. It's badass. Overall, like it sounds like 30K a month, 75 to 85K a month. Now you have a team. Now you're focusing on other areas in the business to actually help scale it. For a founder that may be watching this and like considering working with me, what would you say?
If you are a founder and you're under $10 million a year, the only thing that matters for you is sales. Ready, Fire, Aim talks about how important it is to have a singular focus. And a lot of people spend months building a logo, building a website. None of that matters. I built my logo in 30 seconds. I typed it out in Times New Roman in blue and I screenshotted it. 0 to 10 million a year is all sales. And let's put the ego down, founders, right? Let's put the ego down, founders. Let's take the mask off. Right? You're not making the money that you want because you're not as good as you think. There's only one way to get better, and that's through skills and practice, just like it is with anything.
Yeah.
Now, is cafe for closers the best thing for you? We don't know.
No, no, yeah.
You won't know until you try.
Yeah.
But what you can hear from my experience is I came in with no expectations, and it absolutely blew my expectation out of the water. I am a living proof that sales is the only thing that matters. And I'm also living proof, being here in Colombia now, that these relationships, when done correctly online, do translate to lifelong friendships. So my advice for you, founders, is if you want to make more money, if you're looking for more like-minded individuals or just the right environment for you to grow and foster your skill sets, look no further. This is the right place.
Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being real. It's been a fucking pleasure to work with you.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
All right.
No, man.
Boom. That was